It is 5:30. We can call the regular Board of Education meeting in the Amherst Government Village Board to order, please, by standing and touching the flag, which will be on the monitors and in the back of the room.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Engel?
Present.
Mr. Zappa?
Here.
Mrs. Gillis? Here. Dr. Messer? Present. Mrs. Walker? Here.
We'd take a motion to recommend adoption of the agenda as it's presented. We have a motion in the second. Is there any discussion or comments? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Mrs. Gillis? Aye. Mrs. Wackels? Here. Sorry. Aye. Dr. Messer? Aye. Mr. Zappa?
Aye.
Mr. Engel?
Aye. No one has signed up to speak to us this evening, so we would move on to item 6, which would be the treasurer's report. Madam Treasurer?
Please proceed. Got it? You are all used to seeing this by now. It is month to date and fiscal year to date revenue and expenditures. If you want to take one and pass it down. There's not much to note on the December 24 financial recap. Investment revenue fees, the sale of property, and the returns to the general fund have made line 2.01 to 2.08, which is other financing and other revenue, 203,000. That's unusual. Again, the $75,000 cost paid to us for the workshop flavors, $75,000 in October. We received it. Expenditures, all categories are experiencing greater spending this year compared to last year, except capital and transfers out. The capital that right now is about $699,000. That is being kept that way until we begin to implement the capital improvements plan. And then the other financing uses is small right now. Those are transfers and advances out for the year. Go ahead. Hang on. Go back, Sarah. The fiscal year to date then expenditures exceed last year's at this point by 1.4 million. And of course that's from down cash balances. And this is a low cash time of year. We should be receiving our first tax advance at the end of the month, although we haven't heard from the county auditor when exactly that might be. Typically receive 2 advances and a final settlement. Go ahead. Just want to give the board an update on the tax anticipation note. 7 bids came in last Tuesday. They came in as high as 4.97% for the $2.5 million that we needed to finish the athletics upgrade project. Webster Bank came in the lowest. Our bond counsel has worked with Webster Bank before. I never have. But they came in with the low rate of 4.11 throughout the life of the debt. The actual tax anticipation note was $2,534,000. We had estimated that cost of issuance would be $50,000, but they were only $34,000. The total interest over 6 years is approximately $462,000. And that's if we take 6 years to pay it off. The last bullet, there is no penalty for an early payoff. And there is a call date as early as December 2027. And what that means is that the call was built into the structure of the debt. We could call it and refinance it for a lower overall interest rate at that time if we wanted. But if we pay it off early, we're not paying, those interest charges anyways. And then the first principal payment is not due until December 1st of 2026. We'll have 2 interest payments before that. And this was just to make sure that because of the movement of inside millage and the collections was delayed an entire 12 months, that we'll have enough cash in the permanent improvement fund to appropriate the debt service payments. Next slide. Did anybody have any questions about the tax anticipation note? Direct placement, it was very simple, like definitely the most simple debt service or the debt issuance I've ever completed myself. I wanted to share with the board the 2025 Treasurer's Office goals. In addition to the cross-training that's kind of always there, we have somebody now that's completely trained in payroll. There's certain things that you only do once or twice a year that Sarah has not yet done. But there's also cross-training with the accounting person, with accounts payable, and things like that. There's moving things off of my desk that are day-to-day that need to be done by my staff. There's professional development. Among that professional development is the Enneagram assessment that everyone in the district office took. And throughout the year, we're going to be using that as a means to develop better communication skills. The foster greater understanding, my idea with that is that there is great expertise among the 4 people that work in my department. And I want them to be able to share their knowledge with people in the district. So Mrs. Mackenzie is here with us this evening. And so we've talked about the possibility of, like we did last March, where staff was able to pick and choose which learning sessions they went to throughout the afternoon, where we participated in some retirement sessions and some insurance sessions. To do that more, like prepping people for retirement, what's involved with it, making sure that they have contacts at STRS and SERS, what is severance, and why is it important, and how can you tax shelter it. Those are all things that my staff, my crew has expertise in that I really feel like should be pushed out so that we're seen as a resource in the district, not somebody who slaps the hand when they're not compliant about something. Tools for success, that would be additional professional development, perhaps some learning on their own about certain different things in their responsibilities. And then very important that the month-end and period-end process is pushed off of my desk onto my assistant so that my time is freed up for things like forecasting and different CFO responsibilities that I have that I currently don't really have time to do. So just a reminder, my department is responsible for all financial aspects of the district: accounting, planning, compliance, payroll, benefits, insurance, purchasing, accounts payable, and then governmental type things, Ohio Revised Code, and of course audits and things like that. So just wanted to share that with you all. Next slide. Want you all to look ahead. There may be a need for a special meeting the week of February 10th or 17th. I was looking for some fabulous clip art for construction contracts, and I just couldn't find anything that was appropriate. So Mike and I and Chuck had another construction meeting last Thursday, and the bids for the athletic facilities should be in by about the 7th of February. I think it's too early to think that they would have the GMP ready for the athletics upgrades by the 10th, but there's the potential. And we don't want to slow the project down, so we may not be able to wait until the regular board meeting February 24th, so I'm just putting it out there. Next. Mr. Angle, would you like me to forward?
Is there any questions on her items that she's shared with us thus far? Before she would make the recommendations.
I don't have a question, but I'd like to see the
4 comments. No, that's it. Treasurer's recommendations, yes, we move right into those.
Okay. This evening, we have minutes from 3 meetings: the regular meeting, the last one of December 2024, the organizational meeting of January 6th, and the special meeting of January 17th. The December 24 financials always have a bank reconciliation, a bid sum by fund and special cost center, and the forecast budget reports are the general fund and the emergency levy fund, 016, And then finally, there's the AP checks and ACHs that have been issued in the prior month, all December 2024. There are a considerable number of appropriations changes this month. We have a theater local grant where the board is going to be approving in a moment here, a transfer from the general fund, and those were funds received from a bequest and the sale of the workshop players property. Those will move to an 019 fund to be segregated for that specific purpose of renovations, capital expenditures for theater and fine arts. The Comic Kids Fund is developing quite a cash balance, and we've been working with Mr. Tepner to figure out ways to increase expenditures there and draw down that cash balance a little bit. And there are some plans in the works, mostly additional personnel, but perhaps a capital project, a small capital project that might be able to be funded. The Ben's Memorial Scholarship is something that the high school guidance counselor's office has been working on with a family from Amherst. And they're working through the Knox County Community Foundation, not the Community Foundation of Lorraine County. And they're going to be funding, at least for this year and next year, $2,000 worth of scholarships. It's endowed through, again, Knox County Community Foundation. So we'll be putting that in a segregated 029 fund, much the same way as the Educational Foundation is an 029 fund. Youth mentoring programs, we received a sizable donation from Area Charities, I believe. Is that right, Mrs. Walker? Right. And so we're increasing that appropriation for youth mentoring, and that is not only ruling our experience, rocks, but what's the Young Men's program called?
I'm actually going to be talking about those in my report.
Okay, so we'll wait and let her unveil that in a few minutes. And then we had a number, again, of federal grant reallocation changes. So one is an increase and two are increases. One is an increase, three are decreases, excuse me. And those are just late year reallocations. We don't know if there will be any more. Typically, there are none by now, but the last couple of years, they've altered the alteration or the allocation late in the year. And then we have one then and now for Striction Automotive, and I would recall that anything greater than $3,000 must go to the board for approval when there's not a purchase order in place prior to the obligation. And then the transfer of funds that we already discussed. And then there's a long list of very generous donations. You can read more details about that on the agenda.
Can we entertain a motion? We have a motion for items 7A through G. Is there discussion or comments on any of those items that Amy has? Yes? Mr. Zappa?
E, Amy, is that insurance money or are we paying out of the general fund?
Well, that's a really good question. And the way everything works in a public, in a government, is revenue is posted as revenue and expenditures are posted as expenditures. And the insurance paid for all but $500 of this repair. But the two checks from insurance proceeds must be posted as revenue, and this must be encumbered and paid as an expenditure. So it's confusing, and never ever do I ask the insurance company to send money directly to a vendor. That needs to be received by the district and paid by the district, so, okay?
And the 500 would be our deductible.
Yes.
Other questions or comments for the treasurer? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Mrs. Gillis. Mrs. Wackels. Dr. Messer. Mr. Zappa. Mr. Engel.
Motion passes. Mr. Superintendent?
Yeah, so first, January is School Board Recognition Month, so on behalf of the district and all its parents and their students, thank you for serving the board. Certificate from OSBA, Clark. Thank you. Rex, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. We won't keep it too awkward. And I just want to highlight a few things. First, just a few agenda items. The first one is we are responsible for directing, establishing, and maintaining the public library. And so the library has a new trustee that they're nominating, and it's our job to appoint and help approve that new trustee. I did not realize I was going to be here. Hi, Mr. Crace, would you stand up for a moment?
Oh, boy.
You're here with your family. Thank you for
How's it
being
going?
here.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, I noticed that the term is for 7 years.
That's a long time.
I
Congratulations.
say you didn't know it was 7 years. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, at least it pays well.
So while you're here with your family, is there anything you wanted to share from the library world or on your appointment?
Well, I mean, I've never wanted to be on a board before, but then when I found out there was an opening on the Amherst Public Library Board, I just had to go for it because the library is amazing. I wanted to maintain the positive momentum that we have right now. I mean, the new building, everything, just everything that they've been doing. So I'm excited to be a part of it.
Thank you.
I'm assuming you vote on me.
It's our pleasure to approve you tonight, and thank you for serving our community. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. Glad to do it.
And just so the public knows, we only approve, we have no power over that board or over that structure. It's just the way it operates in the state of Ohio. Okay?
Because it's a school district.
Because it's a school district.
School district library.
School district
I don't have
library,
it as well.
but we have no power.
Second item, real quick, you'll see in item 11G, we're approving the district calendar for next school year. It should be the last time. All the open houses, parent conference nights, student activities, anything that should be on the district calendar is there. So thank you to all our administrators, thank you to ATA, their building committees for working together and getting everything accomplished early enough that parents can start planning for next school year. So you'll see that on the agenda tonight. And then finally, there's a business item. It's a contract with Apogee. And Apogee is going to be replacing actually a couple of different communication tools we use. Our contract with Final Site, which we use our website and our app, is ending come December. So we're prepared for a change. We're going to be working with Apogee to create a new website, new app. But also, currently for mass communication, we use School Messenger, which has its limitations. You do the all call, we do all district email. Apogee will allow us to do those things, but also text and some other cool features. Also, right now, we use Smore for our newsletters. Apogee can do that as well. So really, we're going to use Apogee for one all-inclusive, all tied together. So that's a good positive thing, and replace a couple of the other different programs we use for those different things like School Messenger, Final Site, and Smore. Also, the good news is there's other pieces too that we don't have now that we can use in the future, which we're looking into. And the good news is we're replacing the Apogee contract. Each year is going to be around $22,000. Right now, with all the other ones we have combined, it's about $33,000. So we're actually saving money by going to one all-encompassing program. So you'll see that on the agenda as well, in case you're wondering what Apogee is. All right. Also want to highlight, we always work very hard to have partnerships with local community organizations, businesses. Our teachers do a phenomenal job as well of trying new different programs and things. One thing that we've been working on with Rotary is they wanted to do a local project to fund something local. And mostly because of Dr. Jeremy Watson downtown and his enthusiasm for everything healthy, he encouraged Rotary and the whole group to make that one of our local projects. And so we've worked with Rotary. Actually, Deanne Kelbley, our nutrition services supervisors, work very close with them. And so we have a few kindergarten teachers here tonight, right? So starting in February, we're going to be giving kindergarten students a healthy snack twice a month for the rest of the school year. We'll see if we have more money to raise money to maybe do it every week. But the idea is to teach our children what it means to have healthy snacks. And so there's a letter I gave you that Deanne sent out to the parents. And what I really like about it is I didn't realize she was doing this, but there's a healthy snack product they're familiar with, like apples and celery, things like that. And then she also has a unique item maybe they never tried before. So
Xmas sticks.
yeah. So for them, February 6th, the first day, they're going to get a banana, but also going to get Picma sticks. And then there'll be dragon fruit, mushrooms at one point, things like that. So, yeah. So the first time we're going to be doing this on Thursday, February 6th at hours, 1 o'clock. Rotary members are coming as well to help pass out the snacks. So hopefully it's going to be a great partnership and a lot of fun and a good experience for our kindergarten students. And then speaking of wonderful projects that we work on, tomorrow night is the Navy National Defense Cadet Corps, is it not shrine, conscription, right? So it's a conscription ceremony. So all the board's invited to be there. It's at 7 o'clock. It's Steel, in the main gym South Lobby area, so it should be a good ceremony. It's the first one. Mike Edwards is doing a phenomenal job. The students do a phenomenal job. It's really exciting to see the growth of the program. Commissioning, thank you.
Yes.
It's their commissioning. Very efficient. So I'd ask board members to meet at 6:30 in the main lobby here before we go down there. We have another visit we want to do before then, and then we'll head down there for 7 o'clock for the ceremony. So I know some of you can make it, some of you might not be able to because of other commitments, but just want to remind you about that tomorrow night. It should be very great. I think that's all I have.
Any questions? Hearing none, we would move to the assistant superintendent.
That would be me. Couple things I just wanted to highlight for all of you. Exhibit 11D, you'll be approving today are the updated state model policies and procedures for special education. I believe the last time these were adopted was around 2016. But the state has updated some language within the document to better align with state and federal law. They've removed some outdated language in the definitions, and then one of the biggest changes is updating their one of the eligibility categories, which is developmental delay. And up until recently, developmental delay, a child might be eligible for a developmental delay from age 3 to 5. Well, now the state has extended that up until their 10th birthday. So from ages 3 to 9, a child may be eligible for services under a developmental delay, which is excellent because this helps catch some of our kids transitioning from preschool to kindergarten that may just be, their brains and bodies just aren't quite ready to be caught up to where their peers are, but otherwise they might not qualify for services. So this has been a really great update. So that's on the agenda. And then also too, as Amy had mentioned, we've got an Elyria Catholic Charities, or an Elyria Charities donation we received for $12,000. And thank you to Elyria Charities and Kelly Simonson, who spearheaded the acquisition of this donation. And this will be used specifically for our youth mentoring programs that we have throughout the district. And like Amy had mentioned, we have a ROCKS program, which is ruling our experiences for our young girls at Nord, AJH, and Steele. The Young Men with Purpose program is currently at Nord. Mr. Matakovich and Mr. Port are running that program. And then we also have our Big Comet, Little Comet between the junior high and Powers, and then Marion Mentoring, which is Steele and Nord. So we got a lot of different things going on to build bridges among our students within the district. So that's all I have for my report today. Any questions? That's good.
No questions for the assistant superintendent? Okay, the JBS update. JBS held their first meeting last Thursday. I'm going to pass around the communication update so that if you'd like to read some more information about it, you can scan these and then you can read all those articles because they're doing a lot of their correspondence digitally now, which is one thing. They have focused all last year very heavily on increasing their social media presence, and if you'd like to know the actual statistics of that, they have increased their followers since September by 270.5% on social media. So those are on the back of that page if you'd like to do that. And like I said, I'll pass that around so you can all look at that from that perspective. Also, they were featured in Pulse magazine. If you have not seen the latest Pulse magazine, There's a whole article on here about the task force and some of the JVS, so I'm sure that there's copies of this available at the board office from that perspective or somewhere that you can get your hands on. You're certainly welcome to have this copy if someone would like that copy. Also, a couple weeks ago, we had a community meeting with a lot of workforce people, employment people about pre-apprentice. Mr. Molnar was there. Would you like to share anything about that meeting and what that consisted of?
Yeah, there's just a lot, there's a lot of new things from the state of Ohio with pre-apprenticeship programs, having students in the workforce. There are also some industry credentials like we're doing in our makerspace with our robotics program where you can get licensure or certificates or credentials. And those things are now also being recognized along with diplomas and will eventually be on a report card with all these different options that kids can do besides, outside of just regular education in the high school. So JDS hosted a meeting with the school districts in the area and actually brought in a lot of other professionals that are around those different options. Some of them are even maybe competing with the JVS for possibly the students and they work with. So I was pretty impressed that they brought in just more information from everyone about those different opportunities for kids and how the JVS is working with them and how the JVS is willing to partner with us, help us do some of those things in-house like we do with our box program. So it was a good evening and a good meeting. And it made some good connections.
And part of the reason for that is because the JVS gets more requests for students to do some apprenticeships that they don't have. So they know that there are students at home schools that could qualify for some of those apprentice things also. So in certain areas, so that was one because several of them do some of their own technical or some of their own vocational type programs to the house. So I thought it was very well received. Community college was there. Cuyahoga Community College was there. Workforce was there. There was several places, and as he said, they are in competition doing the same thing. So, but everyone was very positive about that experience, and that was good. Also, on a reminder that on March the 12th, the Regional Spring Conference from OSBA will be at the JVS. Registration is not open for that yet, but it will be coming, and that is on the 12th, and it begins at 6 p.m. So I would encourage everyone on the board, if they could, to attend. It's close for a change instead of driving to Warren or Wadsworth or wherever. I mean, we've driven all over for that at times. It will be here in your own backyard, so I would encourage everyone to attend that for a good showing. You will have dinner at that. There will be a cost associated with that, and the food will be prepared by the culinary team, so that they've already been talking about what they'll be serving from that perspective. So I just wanted to share that with you as well. What other questions do you all have about the JVS that I could answer?
So are you the president again?
I was re-elected as the president of the JVS.
I knew it.
Yes, I was, okay. So. Yeah, it's not a problem. We'll take care of what we need to do. That's why we're here. Okay. So it was, yes, our board retreat, we have our board retreat in January or February. Our board retreat will be February the 6th at 5 p.m. at the JVS. Just so you guys, we have no new board members coming on. Everyone that was the 3-4 of us that had to be reappointed by home districts was reappointed. There's no new board members this year at the JVS. That may not be the case next year, but that is the case. We do have a new vice president at the JVS. Deborah is not the vice president. Kathy, who is here to present the award, is the vice president. Okay, so that's
Where is the board retreat?
the board retreat will be at the JVS. We'll be meeting in the budget. Any other questions or comments? Okay, great. We'll move on to the alarm. Okay. Board updates. Vanessa, do you have some things for us?
Okay, so, the 136th General Assembly started January 6th, and the new Speaker of the House, which was the Senate leader, last year, is Matt Huffman, and the minority leader is Allison Russo. The Senate President, Robin Kupali, and the minority leader, Nikki Antonio. Our House Education Committee Chair is Sarah Arthur, and the Senate Education Committee Chair remains Andrew Brenner. Mr. Miller, in our area, he is still on the Education Committee in the House, so that's good news. The executive budget will be released, it must be released next Monday by Governor Warren. But they foresee, OSBA leadership foresees later this week, but we shall see. Next slide, please. Okay, so, some recent activities, so recently signed House bills. I'm sure everyone heard of House Bill 8, Term of Parents' Bill of Rights, which requires public schools to adopt policy to notify parents on student health and well-being, on instructional materials with that content in it, and release time for religious instruction. This recently signed law will take effect April 8th, so we have some work to do on our policies. House Bill 206 again will take effect April 8th. This makes changes regarding expulsions of students from public schools that involve endangering the health and safety of students and school employees. And we also added in lame duck season last month an increase in funding for school choice programming, so vouchers, by $4,140,000 that will take effect this year. So, yeah, more cuts for public schools. House Bill 315, what's interesting about that, townships, they can extend tax increment financing for districts for an additional 15 years. And also, an amendment was added that new requirements for Ohio Department of Education workforce can provides all school districts with best practices to ensure educational stability for students in the foster care system. So again, these, this one takes effect April 2nd, so early April for these house bills. Next slide, please. Let's see, recently signed Senate bills. So Senate Bill 54, part of that was an appropriations made for $250,000 that goes toward the Running Flag Foundation, which promotes suicide prevention in schools, and taking effect in April. Senate Bill 208 created an open enrollment policy, exceptions for military families, so it expanded upon that even if the family moved a little further out from the district, if they wanted their children to stay in that school district, they could. Also establishes childhood education regional partnership programs and exempt home education groups from child care regulations. And last is Senate Bill 234, which designates May as Food Allergy Awareness Month and This Awareness Month. Also, an amendment was added that requires schools and higher education institutions to include the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline telephone numbers on student identification cards, student planners, and electronic reporters. So we need to be aware of that, make sure we get those things. And another fun fact, Senate Bill 104, which will take effect February 5th, I believe, some districts in meeting today, when I was in the legislative liaison meeting today, we're asking them about the bathroom bill that was passed, where members of the opposite biological sex cannot be in, opposite gender locker rooms. So people were worried about sporting events where the visiting team is opposite gender. And the newly signed law did not make provisions for that. So people were saying to get around that. I guess they talked with their legal teams and they were advised to, I guess, put a paper sign on top of signage, the existing signage, and say this for a or something. So people were advised to, of course, talk with their legal counsel, but that was not the other one out there. So just that I would put that fun fact in there. Thank you for the next slide. So we introduced priority bills, as they call them, this month for House Bill 3. So the School Bus Safety Act that carried over from the last year General Assembly would appropriate $25 million to create a school bus safety grant fund that districts can apply for to update their bus fleet with safety modifications, and would also designate August as School Bus Safety Month. House Bill 10 would have districts to develop policies to prohibit the purchase of any mislabeled meat for use in school meals. I did write this out because I was making sure I heard right, but they were saying something about meat created in labs. And I'm like, I've been working in labs and we didn't do that, but I don't know. So then Senate Bill 7, districts to provide annual instruction for grades K-3 on illegal drug usage prevention, and finally Senate Bill 19 requires districts to provide, and we have our lovely Mrs. Hall here to, if I flip this up, provide math achievement improvement plans for students scoring less than 51%.
It's not law yet.
Yeah, it's not law.
Okay, you just said it's not law. It's not law.
Right, we have enough decisions now, but yeah, so that's what the proposal. I think that's it. Yay! Nice job.
Questions for Amanda? You have questions?
No, I said the board items on the board discussion.
Yeah, I was gonna say, okay. Now, any other board discussion items we have?
Well, first, just a highlight on the locker room issue. I've already talked to Chuck and Casey. We have nameplates coming that we can make both male and female locker rooms. Whoever's using that locker room time. So just so we can use locker rooms throughout the rest of the school year. That should be okay. Also, just want to remind the board, next month we're going to have a guest speaker come in to provide part of the presentation. Eric Resnick from the Ohio Coalition for Safe School Funding and Adoptions for Ohio, just to give the board more information, more specific details about the organization, why we're going to consider possibly joining them. So he'll be here in February, just to make you aware of that. And also, just wanted to bring this item up because the board did a lot of work since August on the taxation policy with Dave Conley. Nothing to talk about or decide tonight, but just want to remind everyone that we went through the process. We came up, he delivered, I think in December, a draft taxation policy. So at some point, the board, is probably the one that pick up that conversation or decide, what next steps you want to do. There's no requirement by the state to have a taxation policy. Something that we looked into, we worked on with Dave, and so again, just wanted to put it out there again. It's in the board's hands, Rex, as president, to see what next steps we might want to take with that. Just want to remind the board.
I have a question about that. Wasn't he going to give us
Yes,
That's
you did.
That's
Okay.
okay.
I didn't see it.
Okay.
Well, it was in December, probably
Okay.
We can forward it.
during the holiday season.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Came, yeah, right before Christmas.
Okay.
And just to go back on the bathroom issue, I mean, they have made the national, the local news a lot. Columbus is having big issues with how they're going to distinguish these bathrooms. It was on the news in Columbus, Ohio. So I just want to say, because their parents are doing what our parents did several years ago, and we have addressed those issues with making sure that the bathrooms are correctly labeled and that everybody has a bathroom that they can use. And now with the new rulings, we are still ahead of that game. So I just wanted to say, the Board of Education in Columbus, Ohio had a special meeting about that. Just so everyone is aware. So it's a hot topic. And our new bathrooms meet all of those requirements. They are labeled for both female and male and clearly defined. So I congratulate us all for making sure that we were ahead of that game, that curve, by many years. Anything else that you'd like to discuss with the board or the board members have that they'd like to bring up? If not, we would move to the personnel recommendations.
Yeah, we have items 10A through 10J, and I think all of them are routine items, fine, except for probably J, which is Mr. Crace is a library trustee, so he is the non-routine item that we discussed earlier. So I'd like to recommend the board personnel items 10A through 10J.
We are going to alter that a little bit. We are going to take a recommendation for 10A through E and G through J, excluding F, because we've been asked to have a conversation in executive session about item F. When we come out of executive session, we may take action on item F. But for this purpose, we are just doing 10A through E and G through J.
So moved.
Motion and a second. Is there any comments or discussions on those A through E or G through J, not F? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Mrs. Gillis. Aye. Dr. Messer. Aye. Mrs. Wackels. Aye. Mr. Zappa. Mr. Engel.
Congratulations, Mr. Crace, you're a library trustee for 7 years.
Oh, boy. Thanks.
Educational recommendations under 11.
Yeah, we have 7 items, all are routine except for item E, which is the new model policy for special education, which Ms. Walker shared earlier. So besides those, the other ones are routine items with contracts you usually do every school year. So I'd like to recommend items 11A through 11G.
We have a motion and a second. We have a second. Any questions or comments or discussion on 11A through G? Dr. Messer also forwarded you the update that you can read yourself on the special ed requirements. More in depth. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Mrs. Gillis. Aye. Mr. Zappa.
Aye.
Dr. Messer. Aye. Mrs. Wackels. Aye. Mr. Engel.
Item 12, business recommendations.
We have 5 items here in business recommendations that are routine. E is the after G agreement, which I mentioned earlier. And so I'd like to recommend items 12A through 12E.
We have a motion and a second.
Second.
Is there discussion or comments on 12A through E?
I just have a comment. I just want to thank you for using a local business with the chips and stuff.
What you think? What one?
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Mrs. Gillis. Aye. Mrs. Wackels. Dr. Messer. Aye. Mr. Zappa.
Aye.
Mr. Engel.
We would take a motion to enter into an executive session for the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of an employee or official, or an investigation of charges or complaints against an employee, official, licensee, or student request at a public hearing, with action maybe to take place after. Is there discussion or comments to move into executive session? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Mrs. Gillis. Aye. Mr. Zappa. Dr. Messer? Mrs. Wackels? Mr. Engel?
We'll go back to the first class tutor or room.